Hello, and welcome back to the journey from Cana. Recently, I started thinking about how when God does something, He does it perfectly. For example, how again and again He uses water and spirit in creation. At the beginning of the earth, after Noah's ark, with the Exodus and the parting of the Red Sea, crossing of the River Jordan when the Israelites enter into the Promised Land, and of course, with our baptism. This goes into everything He does, including how He uses our human nature to learn and grow spiritually. What got me thinking about this recently is I started experimenting with making mead. For those of you who don't know what mead is, it's a wine made from honey instead of grapes, and is arguably one of the oldest forms of brewing known to man. It's not as popular today, however, as people discovered that we can make other forms of alcohol, like wine and beer, from something that you can grow. But there are still those who like to make mead. At this point, I've finished my second batch, and I have started working on my third. With a little bit of luck, on my fourth I'll start experimenting with adding different fruits, so that I can make different flavors of mead. It was around this time that I came to realize that God uses our curiosity and desire to learn as a way to call us to Him. The first step is desire. When I wanted to start making mead, it was because I couldn't find any when I went looking through my local store. This would be like someone going through life looking for something, maybe a question they were struggling with, or meet someone who had a love of God in their heart, and they were touched by the Holy Spirit at that moment and moved to follow Jesus. The next step is learning. Once you are on the path, you need a plan, a direction. In my mead journey, I started looking at different YouTube channels, Amazon for different things I would need, and finally I decided to purchase a mead making kit from my local bee store. This would be like someone who is searching for answers in the faith, and they start reading the Bible, devotional books, or maybe watching YouTube videos. The third step is getting started. At this point, you've been looking around for any bit of information you can find. Books, videos, or maybe even asking those who say they know something about what it is you want to learn to teach you. And you quickly find out that it's a lot more complicated than you thought, and you are overwhelmed with all the choices. For mead, not all honey is the same, and it's not all of the same quality. Then there are different types of yeast that can affect the flavors and the alcohol content. Different ways of racking, stabilizing, clarifying. Which is best, and why? Someone new to the faith can feel the same way with the number of Bibles, books on the faith, and the YouTube channels that are out there. How do you choose and where do you start? When making mead, you learn from trial and error what combination works best. And while true, there are those who have done it who are willing to tell you what their preference is, which that is a good starting point. But they can contradict each other, so you ultimately have to just pick one and try. Ultimately, because of our human nature and the fracturing of the church, Christianity on the surface appears to be no different. Fortunately, though, God does not expect us to learn how to worship Him through trial and error. He sent His Son to teach us, who then sent the apostles and their disciples after them, continuing an unbroken chain of teachers and disciples, which we call the Catholic Church. While God allows our human nature to learn by trial and error if we choose, He has given us teachers who have preserved the writings and traditions of those who have come before, so that they can teach us. The fourth step is learning the process. Back to the mead example. Now that you know the basics of what you need and how to do it, you start brewing. And as you start brewing, you gain confidence in the process, and you learn what combination of ingredients works best. In our spiritual lives, thankfully, The church has over 2,000 years of experience perfecting the process and finding those ingredients so they pass that information and knowledge down to us. When we gain confidence going through the process of receiving sacraments, serving our family and community while using the ingredients of prayer, devotion, and studying, we are drawing closer to God. The final step, the fruits of your efforts. With mead, you follow the process patiently, and you wait. It can take 3 to 4 weeks to brew. The first few days are full of activity after mixing everything together. However, the process slows as the sugar breaks down. Then it takes another week to clarify, a few weeks to stabilize, and finally sweeten to your taste. You're not done yet though, as then now you need to let it sit and age so that the alcohol taste can mellow and the flavor of the honey can bloom. The whole process can take months. This is again just like with our spiritual life. Our conversion may occur quickly, just like mixing all the ingredients together. But it takes a lifetime of God's graces given through studying, receiving the sacraments, and serving Him to mold us spiritually into the men and women He intended us to be. A process the Church calls sanctification. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe so that we can continue the journey from Cana.